Hello there, good morning, and welcome to this, the WP Builds weekly WordPress newsletter number 46. It covers the WordPress weekly news for the week commencing the 14th of January 2019, and it was published on Monday the 21st of January 2019. Just a couple of things before we begin. Over on the wpbuilds.com website, if you wouldn't mind going to wpbuilds.com/something, and I'll tell you what they are. /subscribe will allow you to subscribe to our newsletter. We post updates on Messenger and Slack and very little else. We don't try to spam as little as possible. /advertise if you would like to advertise on this, the newsletter, or on Thursday's podcast. We've got banner ads and audio inserts. /deals if you'd like to get some deals on notable WordPress plugins. /contribute if you would like to come on and talk to me on a video kind of short podcast episode about something that you're proud of doing. The WP Builds newsletter today was brought to you by Kinsta. Are you tired of unreliable or slow hosting? If so, check out Kinsta, who takes managed WordPress hosting to the next level. Powered by the Google Cloud Platform, all their plans include PHP 7, SSH, and 24/7 expert support. Migrate today for free at kinsta.com. And we thank Kinsta for their support of the WP Builds podcast and newsletter. Okay, right, let's get stuck into it. We've got a fair bit of news today. The new year has started and we're back to things happening. I've got 3 articles today all around this brand new feature that Automattic have brought out called Newspack. The first one that I'm going to mention is over at TechCrunch, actually, which is the first place I encountered this story. Essentially, WordPress and Google and a bunch of other people have combined to launch this initiative called Newspack. Now, the idea of this is to help small news agencies, so thinking about local newspapers and that kind of thing, to publish their news articles with as much ease as possible. Now, we're not quite sure whether this is going to be like a plugin like Jetpack is, or a completely hosted solution like WordPress.com, but it looks like over $2 million has been raised, and we're going to get a new version of WordPress called Newspack. It's going to come with a load of features that news organizations might like to use. So, for example, it might have the capability to insert adverts automatically and that kind of thing, but it's going to be very much tailored around making news. Now, this is very, very interesting. It's going to be leveraged over Gutenberg, which is obviously, probably, if you're a news organization, quite an attractive way of writing your news stories in a kind of linear column way. We've also got a couple of articles linked which cover this story. One is at more10.com, MOR10.com, entitled Newspack, Automattic, Google, and the SaaSification of WordPress. And this article goes on to say how the WordPress ecosystem feels like it's going this way. It feels like WordPress is going to become more of a platform, more of a service. You'll have a version of WordPress for news. You'll have a version of WordPress for medical. You'll have a version of WordPress for real estate agents and that kind of thing. And obviously, you can do this now with all sorts of plugins, and you can launch your own multi-site network. And if you can offset it with things like Beaver Builder and Elementor, you can make those things kind of easy. So this article is making the case that that is going to be the future of WordPress. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Only time will tell. And then the WP Tavern, as always, has got the definitive article on it. It's quite a long one. It tells us how much money has been invested, why this is being done, and it also goes into probably the thing most important to my heart, the fact that this is going to be open source. This is not going to be a container, a silo that you can't get your stuff out of. They're making it very, very clear. Matt Mullenweg is saying, yes, you'll be able to get your stuff out, but this does seem to be a really lucrative space. It would appear that other big news organizations have built their own CMSs, which they are then leveraging and charging, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month for, so that small news organizations can use them. And obviously, if you're a tiny little newspaper or local news organization, it's difficult to justify those costs. So maybe the WordPress Newspack offering is going to be a good price point. Looks like it's going to be somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000 a month, which sounds a lot to me, but probably for a news organization, not too much. Okay, the next piece of news then, we're going back over to the WP Tavern, this time for a news article entitled WordPress 5.1 to introduce new white screen protection feature. Beta 1 now available for testing. Well, it feels like yesterday that WordPress 5.0 came around, and we're on WordPress 5.0.3 now, and a lot of people have migrated over to it. 23.2% of the sites are currently on WordPress 5+. And quite a few, almost 50%, hanging back on 4.9 in some way, shape or form. I suppose that's to be expected. But WordPress 5.1, you can go and download the beta test. It's mooted to be relaunched on the 21st of February, so there's a little bit, just over a month to wait. But we've got a few nice features being rolled into it. One of them is the Site Health Check project, which is going into core. You can currently download this as a plugin, but it's going to catch fatal PHP errors before they happen. So in other words, you will no longer get the white screen of death. Hopefully before you get the white screen of death, it'll stop that process and you'll still be able to log into WordPress and fix things. There's a whole bunch of other stuff as well, but that's the most notable feature for WordPress 5.1 being highlighted in that particular article. This next one is a call for help. It's on the make.wordpress.org website. It's a post, very, very short post entitled Gutenberg Phase 2 Friday Design Update. It's by Mark Urain, and he's basically saying, please, we need some ideas. We need some ideas for the next stage of Gutenberg Phase 2. We need to work out how to do widgets to blocks. We need to talk about the navigation block, and we need helpers. So there's a bunch of links in that page which link out to other areas where you can go, look at what's been done already, look at what you think of them, and comment back. So if the future of Gutenberg matters to you, go and check that post out, and you can probably get yourself involved. Okay, another very brief one on the make.wordpress.org website, this time by Alex Shields. This is entitled Cron Improvements with PHP FPM in WordPress 5.1. So another feature being added in, and it says, a new change in 5.1 Beta 1 introduces a change in behavior for cron spawning on servers running fast CGI and PHP 7.0.16. When available, requests to WP cron PHP will now return a response immediately before processing lengthy cron jobs, allowing the requests that spawned the cron processes to end without blocking, regardless of the transport method used to trigger it. So if you have problems with your cron, then maybe it will be fixed in 5.1 if they're spawning lots and lots of other things. Okay, we've talked about WP Campus taking over the responsibility for getting a Gutenberg accessibility audit. They ended up raising about just over $10,000, and it sounds like Automattic are going to pledge the rest. $31,200 has been finally raised, and they've decided after 7 proposals were put forward to go for a company called Tenon LLC. Apparently they have the chops, the technical chops. They've got a piece of software with an API which should be able to speed things up. But that's the company that's been chosen. So, it's in effect, it's money that you and I don't know if you've contributed, but if you have, it's money that has been put towards Gutenberg becoming more accessible in the future, which I think is a good thing. If you still want to contribute, they're going to leave that donation page, for want of a better word, open until the 31st of January. So we've got a few more days left to do that. Speaking of Gutenberg, this week we have the arrival of CoBlocks, CO Blocks, adds row and column page building blocks for Gutenberg. This is an article on the WP Tavern. Jeffrey Karandang, who is in the WP Builds group. He is one of the developers on this, along with Rich Tabor. It looks like they're trying to kind of get page builder functionality, columns that you can just throw in and resize, and you can move things about and adjust the colors and the settings, and you can put rows within blocks and so on and so forth. Feels very page buildery. Perhaps this is exactly the sort of initiative which will contribute to the development of Gutenberg as it goes into phase 2. But if you're using Gutenberg and you want more control over the elements that you've got on the page, go check out CoBlocks. Very nice work indeed. Okay, Bob WP. Bob Dunn has an article this week called WS Form Pro, a form builder for your WordPress site. And he makes the point that yes, we know there's loads of form builders. But this article, I watched his video, and honestly, this looks like a really nice form plugin. It's called WS Form Pro. The video that he has, plus the very long article where he goes into how you can use it all, is self-explanatory. I've no reason to go into it. But one of the takeaways is the page builder-like functionality that they have for positioning, sizing, and moving fields within your form. It looks very accomplished indeed. If you've got any reservations about your current form solution, maybe that's worth a look. If you're entirely happy, then possibly not. Okay, now we've got some news about Genesis, the Genesis framework. This is over on the WP Engine website. They have bought StudioPress a little while ago. I think, what am I going to think? It's probably about 5-6 months, something like that. I think they bought it in June or July last year. And they've now got a few new features because Genesis 2.8 has been rolled out. It's still the biggest theme framework out there. It's used by over 1 million sites. Very popular still, even with the advent of page builders. But they've got this new idea in Gutenberg. You can now do this one-click install where you can click and it will install a demo site and then you can fiddle with that. This seems really like a nice idea. It's the sort of thing that we've had in page builders for a while. You click a button, a whole template, a page is downloaded. Well, Genesis now has that. And they've also got block style guides which integrates with Gutenberg. So you've got things like editor color palettes, editor text size palette, responsive embeds, front end and editor styles, and a dark mode as well, which probably would be quite nice for some of us. Anyway, if you are a Genesis user and you keep a very close eye on that, 2.8 is out. Go check it out. Okay, the next one is really a very sort of interesting technical article. I'm linking to the WP Shout website because it's very small, but really this points itself to a nathanrice.me post. And it's all about the fact that with Gutenberg, we have all of these blocks and they stretch down the page one after another, and yet all the CSS for those blocks is in the head. And, you know, we've got rendering problems. We can't load the page until all of the CSS has been rendered. And in some cases, if you've got lots and lots of different blocks, you might have lots and lots of different CSS that needs to be rendered. And he's come up with this, what I can only describe as ingenious idea of rendering the CSS at the time the block is needed. It reminds me of lazy loading images. So you scroll down the page and suddenly, oh, there comes a bit of an image, and oh, there's another one. And as they come into the viewport, they are loaded. Well, he's got the same idea with CSS. In other words, things that are down the page don't need their CSS until it's on the page, and it can be loaded on the fly. And he's worked out how to do it. It does work. It apparently doesn't work in the current iteration of Safari, but it works in all the others. It just seems like a piece of genius to me. The idea, if you've got a long piece, it will load quicker. Google loves that. Less latency, less load time. Everyone's a winner. Absolutely brilliant, Nathan Rice. Well done indeed. This last piece of WordPress news is all about somebody that I've been keeping my eye on for a very long time. It's the founder of iThemes, Corey Miller. It was sold a little while ago, and he's now finally decided he's going to hang up his WordPress, well, iTheme boots, if you like, and go on to do various other things. So there's not a lot of news as such in here, but if you followed Corey Miller and his career, then his time at iThemes has gone, and he's going to go and figure out what else to do. It might be business coaching or things like that, but his time at iThemes is coming to an end very soon. Okay, that's the WordPress news itself done. Just a couple of random bits of news from other parts of the world. This is on the BBC website. CERN, who are the custodians of the Large Hadron Collider, which is a massive circular tunnel underneath Geneva, where they smash subatomic particles together to figure out how the universe got started. What a project. They currently have a 27-kilometre ring, which is just mind-boggling. Well, you know what? It turns out that you can't smash enough particles with enough speed together if you've only got a 27-kilometre ring. So they're proposing another one. This is called the Future Circular Collider, and it's 100 kilometres long. The picture of it dwarfs the other one, and it literally goes right around what looks like Geneva. It's huge. I don't know if the world's going to come to an end when they collide these particles. Let's hope not. And the very last one is at the Sophos website. And it says 2-factor authentication codes can be phished by new pen test tool. These hackers, they're more ingenious by the month, aren't they? You know, we've got these one-time passwords. We've got a Google Authenticator app or this app or that app, which gives us our little codes, which we type into the websites, which we log into to give us some feeling of security because we've got second-factor authentication. Well, it turns out those can be hacked. Admittedly, I don't think you need to lose sleep over it too much, but it's kind of like a reverse proxy attack. In the past, attacks like this had to divert you over to a fake site. Then they would, make it look real. You'd enter your one-time password, and if they were able to react quickly enough, they got you. This one doesn't do any diverting. It takes you to the real site. It proxies the real site so that you are at the real site, and it can still steal your stuff. Admittedly, these tokens change every 30 seconds. It's probably not the end of the world, but nevertheless, goodness gracious me, how these people come up with these marvellous, marvellous technological things, I do not know. Marvellous in the sense of it is a marvel, not that it's good. I wish they didn't do it. Thank you for listening. That's the news over. Today's WP Builds newsletter was brought to you by Kinsta. Kinsta takes managed WordPress hosting to the next level. Powered by the Google Cloud Platform, your site is secured like Fort Knox and runs on speed obsessive architecture. You get access to the latest software and developer tools such as PHP 7, SSH and staging environments. And the best part, their expert team of WordPress engineers are available 24/7 if you need help. You can migrate today for free at kinsta.com. And we thank Kinsta for their support of the WP Builds podcast. Thanks for listening. I hope you got something out of the news. We'll see you again for the podcast, the main podcast, on Thursday. Take care. Bye-bye.